How you going? My name is Ellice De Giovanni. I'm a whole bunch of things, but my passions lie in I'm a mind and movement mentor, I am a personal trainer, I'm a mum, and I'm also an author. I can add that in there now because I've just released my first book, WTF I Can't Even Deal. This year's been a big year for me. I self-published my very own book. I have written books in the past, but this one was a real passion project for me. And what led me to this book was a whole bunch of things. It came down to pretty much my life experiences. Everything that is in this book I have personally gone through. So I wanted an opportunity for young adults or anyone from 15 and above to have the information at their fingertips. I mean, it took me a good 15 years to gather this information through my own life experiences, and I wanted that to be easier. So they didn't have to try or go through as much hardship as maybe I did to get the information. There were a couple of reasons, or a few reasons, why I wanted to write this book. I guess the first one, I actually had a dream about it. It came to me in my dream how it should look, what each chapter should be written about, and the next morning I woke up and it was like a download. I just started writing it. And then as I was writing it, I realized that every chapter I had physically been through. So it was like a collection of my life experiences. And you know they say things happen for a reason. You always take that job to learn something. You meet that person because something's going to happen in the future. And that's exactly what this book is about. It was definitely a collection of all my experiences in one. The other reason was obviously to help young adults get through that negative, stuck, sad mindset that sometimes and that everyone goes through. And I wanted to let them know that it's normal and natural to be in that mindset, but to understand how to get themselves out of that mindset. I was a paramedic for 10 years and I watched mental health, or teens with mental health, young adults with mental health, just choose the wrong way to deal with it, whether that was drugs and alcohol or even worse, youth suicide. And I didn't want that. I wanted to help people more than I could in the back of the car for 20 minutes I had with them. So this was a way of getting and reaching more people as much as I could. So the book is almost like an emotional manual or a checklist for when you do get in that stuck mindset, and we've all been there, that negative, sad, depressed kind of mindset. And I certainly have been there in my life, as with everyone. As I said, I did choose to be a paramedic for 10 years, but what was hard was stopping being that paramedic. I did that career for 10 years. It was a long time, and it is a long and different job to do for such a long time. The book is a bit of an emotional manual when we start to feel sad, negative, depressed, or stuck, and we all feel like that. It's so normal to feel like that. And I have definitely felt like that in my life, as I'm sure you have too. As a paramedic for 10 years, I dealt with a lot, I saw a lot, but I also buried a lot, emotionally and physically. And with that job you can't get too attached because you see a lot of things. So I almost detoxed when I finished that job. I did it for 10 years and I came to the realization that enough was enough. Not because it was too hard for me to deal with that job, but because I had a family, like I had my son, and I chose to be with him rather than doing 12-hour shifts 5 days a week and not being able to see him much. So one hard decision I chose was giving up that job. It took me 2 years to make that decision to give up that job. And when I did, I lost my identity. That's the best way I could describe it. I was this paramedic for 10 years who did this amazing thing and saved people's lives and touched so many people's lives, and the next day I was nothing. Like the next day I was stripped of the badges and I didn't have a uniform and I was kind of nothing. And although it was my choice, it was just a big self-realization of who am I now? I was a lifesaver paramedic, I am now, I don't know. So it took me 2 years to kind of detox from that job, emotionally, physically, mentally. And as I said, not because the job in itself was hard, but because I lost that, who am I? So that's where I delved back into myself. For the first year away from paramedics, I was sick, just physically. Like I had adrenal fatigue, I wanted to sleep all the time, I had everything you could possibly imagine. I had sickness-wise, pneumonia, sinusitis, gastritis, I had it all. And I think that was a way my body was just detoxing that last 10 years of work and high adrenaline. And then the next year, I think 2017, I just slept. Most of the year I was that tired, I just wanted to sleep all year. So I detoxed differently than some other people might have from a negative situation, physically. So when I was detoxing at the end of that job, I also had a newborn. Go figure, just throwing that into the mix. So obviously that was an adjustment, having a newborn, tired, you know, this whole new experience, a mum for the first time. But what was even more hard was that at 6 months old, he had severe eczema, like debilitating severe eczema, head to toe. That was my biggest hardship so far in my life. So not only detoxing from paramedics and kind of being in a negative mindset anyway from that and losing my identity, but being a new mum, which you kind of lose your identity from yourself anyway because you're a new mum, but then having that on top of it, a child who had that eczema and who was itchy, scratchy, bleeding, crying and in pain 24/7. Like, I can't even describe to you how much pain my poor boy was in. And I couldn't help him. I had this medical background as a paramedic and I couldn't help him. There was nothing I could do to make him feel better. So I hit rock bottom, as you can imagine. No sleep, just this child that looked me straight in the eyes with this look of, help me mum, like why aren't you helping me? I'm so itchy and I'm in so much pain and you can't help me. And looking back at him, just being able to take it away from him, just really made me sink low and into the depths of darkness, I suppose. I don't know what depression feels like because I've never been diagnosed with depression, but if it felt like what I felt like, then I understand everyone that has or goes through a dark period in their life. I was not only tired and upset, but I didn't want to get out of bed. I didn't want to attend to my child. I didn't want to have to wake up with another day the same as yesterday to attend to that child who was bleeding and scratching and just go through the motions day in and day out. I said to my husband, I just can't, like, this isn't fun for me. Being a mum isn't fun. This was too much heartache because I couldn't help this child in front of me. So hitting rock bottom with that made me realize I had to heal me and understand that if I feel better in my mindset, then everyone and every situation around me is going to be better. And that's when I chose to really delve deep into my self-belief and my self-love, I suppose you could call it. There was one day where my son had eczema from 6 months old to about 3 years. So at about that 1.5 year mark, you can imagine I've been through a year of just itchy, scratchy mess every day. And there was this one day I dropped him off at my family daycare lady and I just had to leave everything behind. I walked out into the rainforest and I stripped off and I went swimming in that crystal clear water, and I just looked up and I looked up at the trees and at the sky and I just said, I can't do this anymore, I need help. Like, I don't know what you're gonna do, or I need someone to come and help me through this situation because I don't want to do it anymore. I used to find myself, like, this is getting real there, but I used to remember driving to doctor's appointments and naturopaths and, you know, kinesiologists and herbalists, and we went to everyone to try and fix this child. And I'd be in the car and he'd be in the back scratching and scratching and scratching, and I'd just be like, in my mind I'd be like, it'd be easier if I just drove into a wall. Like, I got to that stage of mindset, which I look back now and just am mortified to say, but it's true. And when you're in that darkened mindset, that option feels the best, you know what I mean? So there was that day where I just went into the rainforest and went, I need help. Someone help me. And I bathed in that crystal rainforest water for about 4 hours. I just floated in that water. And from that day on, something changed in my mindset. And I thought, I have to start looking after me first. Yes, my son will always come first, but if I don't put myself and self-love first, then nothing around me is going to work, because I'm not feeling it, or I'm not feeling that best self that I can be. So from that day forward, I definitely started practicing more self-love in the way that I would take time out for myself. I would really just get into my healthy eating lifestyle. I've always eaten healthy, but I doubled it up. I took time for me. I went for walks, I walked on the beach. I just said to husband, I need, 20 minutes alone, and just meditated or whatever I wanted to do that day. Looked at the sunrise or got up early, went walking. And from that day, my son started to heal, which is kind of crazy. He had this crazy eczema, and from that day that I decided to look after myself, then he decided to get better. It was almost like we're very energetically matched. And I had a doctor tell me that. He said, Clayton is my son. Clayton is the hardest person I've ever tried to heal. So I'm going to turn on you and I'm going to try and heal you, because I think you're that energetically connected that if I heal you and your mindset and your health and well-being, then I think he will follow. And it was spot on. What I learned from my hardship was that you have to take those lessons that are given to you and turn them into a positive. So now I look back and think Clay was my biggest lesson of my life. It made me delve into health and wellness and mindset so much more. He was allergic to a lot of things, so we changed our eating patterns and lifestyle completely. I went into researching how nutrients and vitamins and minerals disturb your mindset, and how if your minerals, vitamins, nutrients are out of whack, then your mind and mentality is going to be out of whack. There's a huge correlation between those two that not many people realize. That is one of the big chapters I have in this book. It's called Pyrrole. So I learned a lot from that, health and wellness. I also learned that I guess self-love comes in totally and many different forms. I'm not the type of person that will lay down and meditate. It's just not me. But I am the type of person that might go out into nature and go for a walk and exercise or move my body, or be quiet and still and just look around my surroundings. And that is a different type of meditation or self-love practice. So understanding that what works for you specifically is what you should do. Turn off that volume around everyone else and what they're doing and what they say you should do, and go deep into yourself and find what really works for you, and what works for you and what makes you happy away from everyone else is that trigger that will make you happy and will get you in the right steps forward into feeling more positive and happy and well. The reason I wrote this book was not because I've stepped over the line of being through hardships, because every day we have to realize that one day we can feel really great and happy and well and healthy, but the next day we could not feel so great. And to understand that that's normal, to understand that you can go from here to here, but just realize why that may be happening, and whether that's a reflection of what you're eating, how much sleep you're getting, how much exercise you're getting, what day of your period you might be on, how much stress you're getting internally from the outside world. You have to realize that all these contributing factors turn this on. Like, what we see through our eyes is what we process in our lives. Life today feels pretty amazing, but you never know what's coming tomorrow. So I'm always going to have that little niggle in the back of my head just to be aware of the lessons I've learnt and what's to come. And I think that puts you in a really nice balance of life, where you can sit in that center. If you think of a seesaw, how I always say, the only way to balance a seesaw with one person is to stand right in that center and kind of juggle the past and the future. So if you want to just have a positive mindset today, then focus on today. So yeah, I guess the experiences I had in life is the experiences I put in this book. And this book is for both male and female, 15 and above. There are chapters in here that will teach you all about life experiences and to understand that those life experiences are important and normal and can help with that mindset once you understand them better. You can get this book on Amazon.com. You can also get it on my website, www.sweatseeker.com.au, and I will personally ship one out to you. And mums and dads, if you're listening, this is a really important book for kids. I know they're a little tentative to buying their own book, so this is maybe something you can have on the coffee table and push forward. It's also in an audio file so they can listen to it as well. My goal is to get it out to as many kids as possible, to as many young adults as possible, especially those that struggle with that mindset sometimes, because understanding that it's normal is really important this day and age. I didn't have a lot of money, obviously, to a big budget for the book, and I wanted to do most of it all myself, so I self-published, I did all the artwork myself, I took photos and turned them into illustrations throughout the book. So yeah, that's a very cool part. A percentage of my book profits correlate to helping other people and other organisations or mental health organisations. One of my favourite ones is Horses Helping Humans. It's an organisation where Sue Spence takes in young adults who have mental health issues, who have been through the juvenile system, who have had a lot of upsets in their life, and uses equine therapy or uses horses to help them and understand their personalities a little bit better. So a percentage will go off to Horses Helping Humans, but also other charities as well. If you give, you get. If you get, you give. So I want to help spread the word by helping other people and other organisations as well. I think this is a type of book too that, because it is a bit like a checklist, you can keep coming back to it. We're not going to read the book and feel instantly great and perfect and healed, but you will definitely understand yourself better, and then you maybe put it on the shelf, and then when you do down the track get stuck in that mindset again, it is a book that you can come back to, read again, checklist through what's off balance, what needs fixing, and go from there each time you get to that negative mindset. So it's a really good one to just have as your little Bible, or have as your little, manual, emotional manual, as I like to call it.